Hello and welcome to Grocer Pod. My name is Sean Kasednar. Today I'm joined by AWG Chief Legal Officer and General Counsel Stephanie Becker. SNAP benefits have been in the news a lot recently, and Stephanie and I will be talking about what that means for AWG retailers. And before we get to Stephanie, I want to remind you to please subscribe to Grocer Pod. Subscribing means new episodes will be downloaded for you each week. You can find Grocer Pod on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, or any other platform you use to listen to podcasts. Thanks for joining me today, Stephanie.
Hello, Sean. How are you?
I'm doing very good. Excited to talk about SNAP benefits. Truthfully, this is something that I really love about AWG and how important these benefits are to us as a company and what it means to our member retailers. So why don't you just give everyone listening just like a brief overview of why SNAP benefits are in the news and what that sort of means.
So SNAP has been in the news quite a bit lately, and especially from the independent grocer standpoint, they are a huge benefit to making certain that people get fed, which is ultimately one of our goals, to make sure that we are being able to help feed America. So as SNAP gets mentioned in the news, two things are coming up. First, what is happening with the overall amount of benefits that are being available for SNAP? And second, what I thought we would talk about today is the request for SNAP waivers. This is something new that hasn't existed before, but there are a number of states that have requested waivers from the USDA in order to be able to determine what items are sold pursuant to SNAP benefits. Previously, pretty much any food that is available for human consumption, there's some limits. You can't use paper goods, you can't use alcohol and tobacco, but you can use your SNAP benefits for a large category of products. The waivers are an attempt or an ability on the part of the states to limit exactly what the SNAP benefits can be used for. So right now, as of today, there are 12 different states that have been granted waivers by the USDA. They're all slightly different from each other. They all have slightly different definitions as to what is excluded under these waivers. And so it does create this kind of crazy patchwork in terms of what we're looking at and how our retailers are able to comply with and make certain that they are providing the best resources and the best sources of food for their customers.
So before we get too far away from this, what states are impacted? So
there's a total of, it can impact any state, but there's a total of 12 states that have been issued waivers. And then there are 3 states that have pending waivers, and then another 10 who've discussed within the state whether or not they want a waiver. So the 12 states that currently have waivers: Nebraska, Iowa, Indiana, Arkansas, Idaho, Utah, Florida, Louisiana, Colorado, Oklahoma, Texas, and West Virginia. So a large number of our retailers are directly impacted by this.
And just to be clear, this is as of September 2nd. So if you're listening to this a little bit later, maybe your state was added to help those and everybody else out. How do retailers find more information about this?
So there are very good resources available. The USDA website has a terrific website under waivers, food restriction. So if you go to fns.usda.gov/snap/waivers/food restriction, or if you do what I did, Google USDA SNAP waivers, there's a great map that comes up. And the map shows all of the 50 states, including the various states where waivers have been granted and where waivers are, the details behind each of those waivers.
And I'll make it even easier for everybody. I'll just have a link to that site in the show notes, so I encourage everyone to check that out. Before, you mentioned a patchwork system. Can you explain a little bit more about that and how it impacts our retailers?
So the way I see it impacting our retailers is that because each state has a different waiver, and these are based on what the state requested. So it's not as though the USDA created what the different waivers are. The states individually requested a specific waiver. And so based on that, there's a number of our retailers who have cross-border stores. So they might have stores in Iowa and Nebraska, or they might have stores in Oklahoma and Texas. And each of those states with a different waiver system means that our retailers on the back end are going to need to make certain that they're prepared for the different states. So if you only have states in one store, while it may not be easy, at least you're only dealing with one set of regulations. But if you have states that cross borders, then the patchwork part of it, in that it's maybe restricted here, may not be restricted here. There could be a totally different restriction or definition of a food item in another state, could make it a little bit difficult, not only if you're dealing with your own people, transferring back and forth between different stores across state lines, or if you're dealing with your back-end system, trying to make certain that you're actually accurately collecting the information that's needed.
And what recommendations does AWG have for retailers that are in that specific situation? Anything?
I think the important thing to do is to be aware. Some of these are set to start as early as January 1st. So be aware if your state has been granted a waiver, and be in contact with your local state organization, your local grocers association. Be in contact with NGA, with FMI. All of these groups, and including AWG as we know more information, but all of these groups are working to make certain that the on-the-ground information available for retailers is there, and that they're prepared and ready for the start of this process.
Is it the recommendation of AWG that even if you're in a state that wasn't on the one that on the list that you mentioned, that you should probably be prepared that pretty much all states are going to be requesting these waivers? I'm
not sure that all states will actually end up requesting them, but I think it's an important thing to be aware of and to sort of keep your ears open in terms of, is this something that might be coming to my state? It's also something that if you want to make certain that you're talking to your members of Congress, that you're speaking with them about how SNAP waivers could impact you, are anticipated to impact you, or starting next year are impacting you in terms of what it is that you're doing within your stores.
Well, Stephanie, is there anything else member retailers need to know about this SNAP benefit situation?
I think the important thing is to dig into the details as they're looking at it, especially if you have cross-border stores, because you could have a store. Candy is kind of one of those fun, fluid topics that is out there, and that some states restrict candy definition to not including flour or not being refrigerated. Other states specifically make certain that if it does have flour, or if it is refrigerated, that it's not acceptable. The great definitions or the great examples that get used in connection with that is the difference between, say, maybe a Snicker bar or a Kit Kat. Kit Kat has flour, a Snicker bar doesn't. And so in some states, you may be at a point where someone comes up to a register and suddenly grabs something off of the shelf right there, and they grab a Snicker bar, and they have that not covered by their benefits, and they grabbed a Kit Kat, and it would be. So it's just those little things that are going to be important to make certain that the retailer's aware of, and as these start to actually roll out, if there's no change between now and the first of the year, that they have plenty of information available for their customers, so that their customers are not surprised at the checkout stand.
Exactly. All right, Stephanie, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Sean. I appreciate it.
And thank you all for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe to Grocer Pod. That way you can stay up to date on all the latest things going on around AWG. And until next week, this has been Sean Sednar with Grocer Pod.